We often talk about dialects and accents, but what are they exactly? We start the presentation with a definition which was created by Max Weinrich, and he says a language is a dialect with an army and a navy. And this is true in the case of the once called Yugoslavia, and its language was Serbo-Croatian. Now, when Yugoslavia split up into Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, and Montenegro, they adjusted their languages. And these languages basically are dialects of the previous Serbo-Croatian, and they now all have their own army and navy. So it is true in this case. But not in all cases, because in the case of the language Yiddish, which is spoken by a particular part of the Jewish community, this is absolutely not the case because they have nothing to do with an army or navy at all. So we can conclude that this is a subjective argument. But for the sake of this presentation, I do want to use a definition for a dialect, which is a dialect is a variant of a language. Now let's take a look at some dialects spoken in Britain. To name a few, we have Scouse in Liverpool, Geordie in North East England, and Brummie in Birmingham, and so on. These dialects tell us a lot about Britain's linguistic roots. You can find them in certain words and expressions, linguistic roots like Anglo-Saxon, Latin, Norse, and so on. So now we already talked about dialects, but what is an accent? Well, to give an example, I want to talk about Ian Macmillan. He's a poet and he says he speaks Barnsley rather than Yorkshire. And in this case, Barnsley is the accent, which is a variant of a dialect, the dialect Yorkshire. So a dialect has a variety of accents. Now, all dialects and accents bear history, which I'd like to illustrate with an example of Barnsley. A sentence which you'll often hear is, "Come on, Clartet, brain listen." For those who are experts in Barnsley, my apologies for my non-Barnsley accent. Now, Clartet or cloudhead comes from a cloud, which was a nail used in coal mines. And cloudhead or cloudhead now means idiot, and phrase listen means get on with it. So we can translate this sentence as come on idiot, get on with it. And so as you can tell, previous industrial terms do hang on. Now, to end this presentation, I want to tell you a bit more about the evolution of dialects. First, let's see what people thought of a dialect one generation ago. Well, it certainly was a big disadvantage. The ideal was to speak in a way that revealed nothing about your background, your class, or even where you'd been to school. Speaking RP was the way to do this. RP is Received Pronunciation English. Now, why RP? Well, when the first printing press was introduced in England in 1473, Southeast England was the most populous region, and this is where they spoke RP. So RP originally was a regional dialect. Also, Southeast England was the home to the royal court at London. Now, there was a difference between the upper class and the middle class. We had U standing for the upper class and non-U standing for the middle class. But what demarcated them was language. For example, one of the upper class would say, "I'm having a bath," while someone of the middle class would say, "I am taking a bath." But these boundaries began to loosen. New words are now adopted by almost everyone else. Even the Queen is becoming less posh. The Queen's English is now leaning more towards RP. There's been research and her vowels flattened a lot. Also, RP is changing and is leaning more towards estuary English, which you can locate between RP and Cockney. Cockney is a dialect which is spoken by the working class in London. So this you can see right here. So estuary English is less posh than RP, but it's not as working class as Cockney. But what do we think of accents and dialects nowadays? Well, there has been a research at a call center in Newcastle, and we can conclude that people with particular accents have a big advantage. For example, Yorkshire and Geordie sound warm and friendly according to the customers, and Scottish, Welsh, and Irish would sound the most trustworthy, but Scouse and Burmese, on the other hand, are the most unappealing. We're living in a society which is more into emotional connection, and accents are more personable. They express your character and your cultural belonging. So a posh accent used to be the key to success. To success, you would be trusted and believed, but that's just not the case anymore.